Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hearing.
Is this better?
Yeah, here. Yeah, we missed a couple things earlier on there.
Yeah. Well, I'll go back.
So probably like
I'll
a
go back.
little.
I'll go back them over.
All right, not a problem.
All right. I'll go back over, but I want to make sure everybody is hearing. So everybody hearing me now?
Yeah, when he reached up to which part,
Yes, I
the
hear you.
Jibril was he shake for the prophet. That is where we lost you.
Okay. So what I was saying is that Jibril was the sheikh of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and we are the students of that Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he's the best of sheikhs and teachers. And that also that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was always quick to to give charity, and always quick and hasty to deliver the charity to those in need. So what what um what I'm saying is that we have an opposite attitude. Okay, we have an opposite attitude with the people of the who give charity these days. You know, these zakat committees. When women, okay, when women go to these places for zakat, they have to fill out long forms and ask, you know, their question in a humiliating way. Okay, and these people are not acting in accordance with the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who was very quick, and it's easy to identify if somebody is in need or not. You know, instead of humiliating the sisters, you know, and putting them through, you know, this long bureaucratic process. So we have to be careful in when we are given the responsibility to dispense charity, because it is not ours. We are just the distributors. Okay, so a lot of these institutions feel that the charity belongs to them. So um, this is something that they need to take on board. You know, and we as the community, we need to demand that these institutions who are taking people's money, we should demand from them that they have a change or a rethink, you know, um, regarding their how they carry out their business. So, you know, this is something that we can take on board, and something perhaps we can address at a later time. Hadith number 664. Aisha, Aisha, oh Lord, the hadith drop off. Sorry. Hold on. Let me get back the hadith. Oh, there's so much technicalities this today, man. Hadith dropped off. Hold on. I'm just reading the hadith and they just disappear. Okay, we are on Aisha. Aisha reported, which was the one of the wives of the Prophet and the mother of one of the mothers of the Muslims, of the believers. May Allah be pleased with her. She said, this is not really a hadith, this is what you call an athar. It's a narration from a companion of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. She said, this is her observation regarding our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and to strengthen the hadith. She said, with the start of the last 10 days of Ramadan, the Prophet used to tighten his belt and used to offer the night prayer all night and used to keep his family awake. He used to keep them awake for the prayer. So it supports the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, in the last 10, he was extra vigilant with himself and his family. Okay, so it means that the husband should encourage his wife, his wife, and the wife should encourage her husband, and both of them should encourage their children, okay, who are of that age, to be particular about their worship during this time. 665, Abu Hurairah, radiallahu anhu, he said, the Prophet said, none of you shall observe fasting for a day or two ahead of Ramadan, unless he has the habit of observing fasting. And if his voluntary fasting coincides with that day, then he can observe fasting that day. I read again. The Prophet ﷺ said, none of you shall observe fasting for a day or two ahead of Ramadan. Because sometimes due to doubt that the month may have started. Okay, so you wrap up your voluntary fasting, or if you are accustomed to do your if you have been a person who have been regular at voluntary fasting, okay, then continue your habit. But if you're not a person who is into voluntary fasting right through the year, then don't choose 1 or 2 days before Ramadan to fast, okay? Because you might be stepping on the times, or it is not a habit of yours. So the Prophet said, unless that person had the habit of observing fasting, and if his voluntary fasting coincide with that day, then you can observe fasting that day. Okay, so this is what our Prophet ﷺ said. In another hadith, 666, narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet ﷺ, or Abul Qasim, as I mentioned yesterday, that Abul Qasim is the kunya, or the honorific nickname of the Prophet ﷺ, because of his son Qasim. Start fasting on seeing the crescent of Ramadan. Give up fasting on seeing the crescent of Shawwal. And if it is overcast and you cannot see the crescent, complete 30 days. Okay? And all of this is under the heading of chapter 2 or 3 about it is forbidden to do voluntary fasting after the 15th of Shaban, unless you are a person who have been accustomed to doing it. Narrated Abu Hurairah that the Messenger of Allah said, if the last half of Shaban remain, do not observe fasting. Abu Isa said, the meaning of this hadith to some people of knowledge is that a man who does not observe fasting during the first days of Shaban, and when some days of it remain, he starts to observe fasting. In other words, he did not observe fasting during the first half of the month, And when there were only few days of it to remain, he started observing fasting. Such a form of voluntary fasting is undesirable. And the caveat is that unless it was a person who is accustomed to be engaged in voluntary fasting. Sila ibn Zufar, radiallahu an, one of the companions of the Prophet, said, we were with Ammar ibn Yasir, and a roasted sheep was brought to him. He said to the attendees, eat. Some of them refused to eat, saying, I am observing fasting. A man said, he that observes fasting on Yawmul Shak, he has disobeyed Abu Qasim. Yawmul Shak is one of the days of doubt. Abu Isa said, this hadith of Ammar is Hassan Sahih, and the people of knowledge from the Prophet's companions and the successors acted upon it. They disliked that a man observe fasting on the day that the people have doubt about it. Most of them said, if a man observed fasting on that day and it came clear later that it was the month of Ramadan, he shall repeat it. I'll say it again. Most of them said, if a man observed fasting on that day and it became clear later that it was of the month of Ramadan, he has to repeat that fast. So if he fasts on that day thinking was Shaban, on the day of on Yom Shak, the day of doubt, and it was really a day of Ramadan, okay, then he has a fast to make up. And this is something very important, and that we as Muslims, we should be very careful how we choose to carry out our worship. Now we continue. Chapter 204, about the desirability of having the pre-dawn meal. The suhoor, what is called the suhoor. It is the pre-dawn meal, and it is very desirable. Okay, the sunnah to have that meal, and there's a lot of blessings in it, in the sense that it helps you accomplish fast. It is the fasting day for you, and therefore, because of its connection to fasting, it is something that is very desirable. Anas ibn Malik said, the Prophet ﷺ said, take sahur as there's blessings in it. Take sahur as there's blessing in it. And one of the things I have found is that, the porridge, if you take porridge as a suhoor, it is very good, especially wheat porridge, because one of the characteristics of that meal is that it releases slow energy throughout the day. So it helps you to accomplish your fasting, and especially for people who are new to fasting, and especially to people who have now begun to become accustomed to fasting, that they should choose proper meals, okay, to begin this fast. Zayd ibn Thabit said, we took sahur with the Prophet ﷺ. Then he stood for the prayer. I asked, what was the interval between sahur and azan? He said, the interval was the time between suhoor and the adhan, okay, was the time it will take to recite 50 verses of the Quran. So the Prophet ﷺ used to avoid, having a suhoor too close the time for the Fajr prayer. I mean, if you get up a little late and you prepare your food and you are caught up eating and the azan call, then there's no problem. But you should be more careful and separate the two. Because that was the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, that he used to separate the two. So suhoor is good for people who are engaged in fasting during Ramadan and also outside of Ramadan. And it is desirable that one should, even if you get up late and you are just able to take a sip of water, then you should take it, because suhoor is very desirable because of its connection to helping you to fast throughout the day. The son of Umar radiallahu anh said, the Prophet ﷺ said, indeed, Bilal delivers azan by night. So eat and drink until Ibn Maktoum deliver azan. So Bilal azan was a much earlier azan, to indicate the time for suhoor. Okay, in places like Egypt, you have a man goes around the village with a drum to wake up people to hadith suhoor. In Medina, at the time of the Muhammad Sallallahu, the Bilal himself used to have the adhan indicating the suhoor, and the people, you will get up and eat until Maktoum, the blind person, he used to, when they saw the dawn, they used to tell him it's time to call the adhan. So they used to begin the Fajr with the adhan of Maktoum. And even today, if you go to Mecca for Umrah or Hajj, there's an azan that they call to indicate the time for Tahajjud. So there's still some form of this practice. Abu Isa said, the hadith of Ibn Umar is Hassan Sahih. But the people of knowledge have differences of opinion about the azan by night. Some of them said that if the muadhin delivered the azan by night, it is sufficient and he should not repeat it. This is the opinion of Malik. And the opinion of Ibn al-Mubarak, it is the opinion of Shafi, and it is the opinion of Ahmad and Ishaq. Some others said that if he had delivered adhan by night, he should repeat it. And this is the opinion of Sufyan al-Thawri, and it was narrated on the authority of Ibn Umar that Bilal had delivered adhan by night, and the Prophet ordered him to add, the servants of Allah has fallen asleep. This hadith is not mentioned, and the authentic one is the one in question. So the hadith about the Prophet saying that ordering Bilal to say the servants of Allah has fallen asleep is not authentic, right? Because we know in that adhan, he said the prayer is better than sleep, right? So he said that this hadith that we mentioned here is the authentic, is more authentic than the one that mentions about prayer falling, the servant of Allah has fallen asleep. That statement, the servant of Allah has fallen asleep, is not authentic. Okay. Chapter number 205, number 205, on the desirability of breaking the fast at the earliest possible time. The Prophet ﷺ was quick to break his fast. Okay, he was quick to break his fast. It doesn't mean that he broke his fast before the time. But when the time arrived, there was no delay. Okay? So every time arrived and you have your water in your hand and you're waiting for the radio or the TV or your phone, but clearly you can see that the time has come. You should break your fast. Okay? I have had situations where the time had come to break the fast, but the tradition of that particular masjid was that they used to listen to the radio, and after the azan is completed on the radio, then they broke their fast. And I broke my fast when clearly the place was dark, getting dark, and the sun had set, and everybody watched me as if I did something wrong. So you have these situations that occur. There's no need, as I always say, there's no need to argue. You just do what you know. Okay? There's no need to argue. You just do what you know, and you avoid disputes, because sometimes the the weather or the real environment don't always go in sync with the technology. It happens sometimes. So you have to, the technology helps, but it has its role. Okay? Sahal ibn Sa'ad in Hadith 672, the Prophet ﷺ said, the people, which means the Muslims, will continue in doing good so long as they break the fast as early as possible. Now, you can ask yourself why. Because, people generally have a religious mind. And in the religious mindset, it is considered to be pious to extend the fast as long as possible, to show your endurance and your piety, but Islam is different. Okay? Islam is different. When the time comes to end the act, you end the act. You don't prolong it. Okay? And this is what makes Islam a way of life and very practical. So he said that the Muslims, the people, will continue in doing good and in being a good state spiritually, as long as they break the fast as early as possible. Because this whole attitude of the Prophet Islam is in keeping with the Quranic verse where Allah says that He does not intend any haraj, any difficulty for you in this deen. Allah's mode of operation in respect to the deeds of righteousness in this religion, in this way of life, it operates on no haraj, no difficulty. Allah doesn't intend no difficulty for you in respect to your deen. But when people intervene, they make the deen very, very difficult. So we have to be very careful in how we in how we approach the various duties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed upon us. And our mindset should be the Quran. Okay, not what we think is the best religious practice. Our mindset should be the Quran, and the operating function in this deen is no difficulty. Allah has placed no difficulty in respect to this deen. Okay? And narrated Abu Huraira that the Messenger of Allah said, Allah said, Allah said, the most beloved servant to me is he who hasten in breaking the fast Okay, the most beloved servant to me is he who hastens to break the fast. Okay, this is Hadith Qudsi. It's a hadith that Allah spoke to the Prophet or revealed some, inspired something to him, but it is not part of Quran. Okay, it's an inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ said, Hadith 674, when one of you breaks his fast, he shall do so with some dates, but if he cannot get any, he shall break his fast with water, for it is purifying. Okay? Now, this have a context, okay? Um, the most available food in the time of the Rasulullah Sallallahu was dates, because that was the mainstay of their diet in Arabia at the time. It doesn't mean that there's no blessing if you do not break your fast with dates. Okay? It doesn't mean that. Some people take that attitude. Okay? But dates is very good because it is one of those fruits that does not, it is easy on diabetic people. You know, it doesn't store sugar. You know, the sugar dissipates in the blood quickly with dates than other sweets. Okay, so I'm saying, what I'm saying is that there are immense benefit, okay, with the dates. But if you're in a situation where there's biscuit or there's rice, or some people break their fast with ginger, you know, and you know, doubles or any of those things, it don't mean that you have, you know, violated something or that your fast is not properly done. Okay, but these are matters of culture that, you know, the normal things was dates, and this is what the Prophet Islam said. So when we look at this type of hadith, we say, okay, what he's saying is that break your fast with the most simple and normal thing in the society. You know, if you live in a country where there's a lot of mangoes, you know, he would have said mangoes. Okay, so what is the most common, simple things that is common in the society? You use that to break your fast. And if that is not available, then the most common thing universally is water. Okay, so, and he said that the quality of water, because it is purifying, and you receive you receive your energy, okay, back. You know, water wakes up the system and wakes you back up from a whole day of not eating any food. Okay, so I'm not saying that those, so don't say Hassan say that do not eat dates to break your fast. What I'm saying is that really understand the hadith in the context of the society, that what was the most common food that was available to everyone, and in that society was dates. Okay, and if there is, that cannot be found, if that person doesn't have that, what is the most common thing? Then water, which is the universal thing. Any part of the world, people will break their fast with water because of the availability of water. Even in deserts, people carry water in their in canteens and water pouches. You know, or they have wells. You know, so the universal is water. The specific cultural thing is whatever is the common thing in that society that one can use to break your fast. Basically, what he's saying is that do not discomfort yourself. You know, you don't have to cook a whole, uh, you know, dish to break your fast. Very simple. With the simplest thing, you get it done. And then after, you can, when you are free up, you can also continue to, you know, do your dishes and make whatever you have to make and whatever. Okay, all of this is towards the ease in religion. And as I said, the theme of the Quran from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our deen is la haraj. No difficulty. No difficulty. Anas ibn Malik said, and the Prophet used to break the fast with some fresh dates before performing the salah. If he did not find fresh dates, he used to break the fast with a few dry dates. And then if he did not find dry dates, you will have some sips of water. And we pay attention to a lot of the hadiths from Anas ibn Malik because he was a servant of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu from an early age, and he lived intimately in the household of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu. And Abu Isa said that this hadith is Hassan Gharib, which means it is good, but it's strange. And it was narrated that the Prophet used to break his fast with some fresh dates in winter and with water in summer. Okay, so some of the people have not knowledge said that they don't discount the hadith is Hassan, but to them it was strange because he was also observed breaking the fast with some fresh dates in winter and with water in summer. Okay, and Allah knows best. The main thing is to get it done simply as possible. But we have the ikhtilaf of these scholars, and it just helps to clarify issues between the Muslims. It's not to go out and make a whole religion out of, you make a whole school of thought out of whether it's fresh dates or dry dates, or fresh dates in winter and water and no water. So if he had no fresh dates in winter, did he take water to break it fast? And if he had no water in summer, did he take, it becomes crazy, right? We take all these on board as different observances that the Prophet companion Sallallahu made, with him, because suppose Anas saw that in his house, which makes it Hadith Hassan, good. But the Prophet always was not in his house. Okay, he used to be outside. He was on journey. He used to be around the community, and people observe him doing other things outside. Okay, so we do not take these little things to cause sectarianism and to make a whole hizb, a whole group out of these issues. Okay, these things are very important because some people go to the hadiths for confusion, and some people go to the hadiths for understanding. Okay, and it's understanding. If you just look at the hadith, and people can argue, yeah, that was only in the winter, yeah, that was only summer. But if you look deeply, without any notions of your nafs, you can understand it, because Anas was a little boy in the household of the Prophet Sallallahu. But Anas didn't accompany Prophet in every aspect of his daily life. He was mostly at home. He observed it at home. But when he was outside now, what happened? What he used to do? And these are the other, that's why these scholars say it's Gharib. It is strange because other actions have been reported. Okay? I hope that clarifies that. The chapter on the obligation of curbing fasting person's tongue. Okay, so we stop here because I don't like to trespass on the people's ability to be comfortable to have the iftar. So we stop on chapter 206 on the obligation of controlling your tongue while fasting. Okay, a very important chapter. So I will take any questions. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasul. Any questions?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Any questions?
Yes, Sheikh. I just need some clarification on the authenticity of the adhan. I kind of was puzzled. Is it that the adhan in the nighttime adhan and the early morning adhan, they're considered two different things, right? Two different.
Yeah, because they say
because of the
yeah, they say as-salatu khairun minan.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't.
Because of
I kind
the
of.
khairun minan, but what yeah, but what they're saying is that, you know, as-salatu khairun minan now is praise better than sleep, right? But
Yeah.
The narration we have, it says the servant has overslept or something like that. That statement is not, perhaps the person paraphrase as-salatu khairun minan now. Okay? So we don't say the servant al-ibad,
Yeah.
sorry. Al-ibad, anomul kathir. No, we don't say that. You know, but he just paraphrase as-salatu khairun minan now. Okay, that is basically what they're saying.
Okay, shukran.
You know, yeah. So, any other questions? Answer your other question yesterday that you wasn't able to get answered. Do you still have the question, or it's not relevant anymore? Brother Answer. Okay, so no more questions. So we'll end this session, inshallah. And tomorrow we will continue on the chapter about controlling the tongue of the fasting person.
Yes, I wanted to tell you that I was happy to be in the class yesterday and today, in any case, and much appreciated, Ustad.
Okay, mashallah. You know, I thought you commented tax my brain or something. I know you. Mashallah. Okay, so tomorrow, inshallah, we will continue. Okay, so thanks for coming. I appreciate everybody here. And as I said, what you learn, you pass on to other people. Any questions, you can pass it on to us, and we'll see how best we can handle them. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.